Number one, you're probably using too much copy. Now, what I mean by that is that lots of us sell services actually that are fairly complicated, and or maybe you sell something, you've invented something that is very technical. It's such a temptation to want to explain all the details of how things work, the curriculum of the scope and sequence of the program, or exactly how something is hosted in the cloud, or how this artificial intelligence, augmented intelligence, machine learning software works. The thing about effective copywriting and effective marketing in this, particularly in this busy internet information inundated time that we're living, is that you actually have to say less with powerful words and not more in order to get people's attention. Remember, the purpose of marketing is to invite someone into a conversation or into some way that gets in your sales funnel. So if we make it too complicated for someone to understand what we're doing because we literally use too many words, we accidentally might be self-sabotaging. There is a quote that I love that kind of ties to this point, which has been attributed to Benjamin Franklin. It's also been attributed to Mark Twain. I don't think we really know who said it, but it's a great quote. And somebody famous said, I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a longer one. And it's that idea that actually coming up with the right way to describe something in a very compelling way is actually an iterative and challenging process. So you might be using too many words and kind of getting in your own way of making it sound too hard to work with you inadvertently. That's mistake number one. Mistake number two, talking too much about yourself. You may be talking about your own authority too much. So here's the thing about marketing. Perfect marketing is a balance between 50% empathy and 50% authority. I learned that from Donald Miller with his sales and marketing framework called Building a Story Brand. And in that book, Donald Miller talks about this perfect balance of empathy and authority. And he's saying that someone needs to be able to trust you, that you know what you're doing because you have enough experience, you have some particular industry knowledge, there's something you bring to the table that's very special. But on the other hand, if you make it too much about yourself and maybe the history of your company and your credentials, it's kind of off-putting, because remember, someone's coming to your website or they're reading your sales email or they're watching your sales video, like you're watching this video right now. You're coming as the buyer to something because you have a problem that you need fixed. You have a need that you want someone to fix. And empathy is saying, I get the need. I see what you're saying, and I see that you can help me. So a way that you can look at whether you're falling into this trap of talking too much about yourself and overly emphasizing the authority piece of that authority and empathy equation is literally take the pages of your website, print them out, and circle all the times you talk about yourself, your company name, I, we, me, the founders, our history, our about section, etc. And then underline or shade all the words that are about your customer and just look at what the equation looks like. What is the percent balance? When you look at that and know that, you can decide if you're happy with that empathy and authority mix. People who own businesses, this is not as common in startups, but people who own businesses that they've had for a while or that have been in their family or have a really long, proud tradition, they particularly are susceptible to being too heavy on the authority side and talking about themselves and not enough on having empathetic, understanding statements coming from the perspective of their buyer. This is when we get into things like, we're 40 years old, here's our proud tradition, and they have a picture on the website of their granddad in front of the store or whatever. There is a little bit of place for things like that. It can be of interest, but not front and center, because really, let me say this as bluntly as possible, people come to the site because they have a need and they care about themselves, and they don't really care about you yet because they don't know you. So while we need to have credibility, we don't want to be too heavy-handed on amping up our own authority. You may be talking about yourself too much. So check that. That's an easy thing to fix.